Hello, my name is Brian Galebuck and I will be a guest commentator in this video for Dweebovision. I am a North American Scrabble expert, and in this video I'm going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game and be fun to watch. I will be playing this game with the North American tournament word list and the double challenge rule, in which a lost challenge results in a loss of turn. The game is just about to start, so let's join the action. Alright, it's my opponent to go first. I have not a great rack, just 2 vowels and some high scoring tiles, including a duplicated P. So I'm going to want to use the U if I can, also at least 1 P. Maybe something like hump would clean up the rack pretty well, leaving NAP, which is a pretty good leave. I have to see what my opponent is going to do. I also have pump, hump. All right, codex. All right, so that has a vowel right next to this double letter square, so that could give me... Now, I don't have... The U can't fit there, but I could play something like hap. Hap would score 28 points. That's a good score. Not a great leave. A U will fit here. Could do hump here, but that leaves access to the triple lane. But you know, maybe I don't want to worry too much about that at this point. That scores a lot of points. Now, I can't really use the U unless I use it right here. Now I could look for a double-double. I don't believe I have a double-double, and I don't believe I have a good play to the X, so I'm gonna go risky and go for hump, really opening things up with a good leave. Alright, and I'm rewarded by drawing a blank. Now, if this is not block, I would have pardons starting here for 91 points, so I'm hoping that doesn't get blocked. Now if it does, I may have trouble. Now that's unfortunate. My opponent did have an S. Well, you can't plan for everything. Alright, so I don't believe I have a place to play pardons, so I'm going to have to find some other bingo, and I might not have an easy bingo. Probably something from the C looks possible. Endocarp. I think endocarp is a valid word. I'm not starting on the right squares here today. Okay, so endocarp is at least a bingo, scores 62 points. That's a reasonable play. Now what would be better is if I could start or end with the C to get a triple word score. All right, so I'm just going to cycle, imagining the C on my rack. Well, that's endocarp. I already considered that. I don't see anything there. All right, if I don't see anything through the C, I think I'm going to, other than endocarp, I think I am just going to go with that. There's pardons, but that doesn't fit anywhere. And I'm still imagining the C. All right, I didn't see anything other than endocarp, so that's what I'm going with. All right, so that is 62 points, and this is a pretty good leave. Or a pretty good rack, rather. Now, I'm trying to see with these different floaters. First of all, I don't see a 7. Wait, how about aerosol and roseola? Okay, so both of those are good, and those would both go under endocarp, pluralizing that. So, now aerosol would hit this double. Roseola would hit this double, And this would be a little bit more of a board closing play, playing further to the right. And if well, I don't have a lead yet, but once I get a bingo, I may have a reasonable lead, in which case I will want to try to keep the board a little bit more closed. Although it may be a little bit early in the game to worry too much about keeping the board closed. Now, so I have Roseola and Aerosol, which both play probably here for the most points. I can't imagine there would be a higher scoring place. Let's look at these floaters and consider some plays through the floaters as well. How about an E? Well, I have a lot of vowels already. Probably not. How about the N? Looks like salooner, but I don't believe that is a valid word in the North American dictionary. Probably not in Collins either. How about the D? Not that I can see. Now, how about this R? Well, I already have an R. Roseola, I don't think that takes a back R, so I don't think that that is a word. How about through the P? I don't see anything through the P. How about to the D? No, I don't think so. All right, so I'm hoping that this S hook remains open. If it doesn't, do I have another spot for Roseola or Aerosol? Let's take a look. A-E-R-O-S, that doesn't fit. All right, how about Roseola? S, Rose, no, Aero. No, I don't think that plays parallel there. How about down here? A-E, no. No. Just too many consonants in a row there. All right, how about over here? I don't think so. I don't have anything to go in front of the U. All right, so unfortunately I'm only seeing this one spot for bingos. I just have to hope that my opponent doesn't block that. Now, if my opponent does block that, okay, Aerosol, Roseola, they are both blocked, and that's very annoying. All right, so I'm going to have to do something different. Now, I was just looking at this N. Do I have a double-double through the N? I'm just going to look at combinations of 6 tiles imagining in an N. Loners. Well, loners is a double-double. That gives me 32 points. Uses the S, but I might not be able to score a lot higher. What if I did a play here? That scores almost as much. Now, if I don't use the S, what can I do not using the S? I don't think I can score close to 32 if I don't use the S. I don't like using the S this cheaply, but 32 points is not too bad. 28 points. Puts an O next to a triple letter score, but there's already some high scoring spots available, so this doesn't increase the volatility too much. So I think I'm going with loners for, oh, that's 28 points. I was thinking it was 32. What if I played that here? Oh, I don't have an N though. Okay, so let's do loners. 28, that's actually not that high of a score. Do I have something comparable that leaves a better rack leave? I could do some, well, saloon. That's very dangerous. I don't have an N. Let's keep track of the letters I actually do have on my rack. All right, I'm going with loners. I'm tired of hemming and hawing about this one. All right. All right. Vowel heavy, duplicated O. I have the short word agio. Okay, what else can I do? Unfortunately, I don't have any high point tiles for placing at any of these hot spots. If my opponent has letters such as H or maybe a W, my opponent could get some pretty high scoring plays. Okay, I'm going to look to play off as many vowels as I can. All right, Wanter, pretty parallel. Only scores 24 points for that, so not so bad for me. Now, I have a G that fits here. I have Godetia through a D, but the T unfortunately doesn't fit here. That would have been nice. All right. God scores 20. I would like to use more vowels if I can. Okay. I identified agio. Where can I play that for the most points? 15 points, but the rack leave is a lot better than the other play I identified. I could play agio here. That's only 10 points, not so great. That's 15 points, but a dangerous placement. All right, what else can I do? This takes out a little bit of a dangerous, well, I'm not sure how dangerous this U spot is. The X has already been played. I don't mind this placement too much. Now, it would be great if I could use even more vowels. Is there a way to do that? Not that I can think of right now. All right, let's play agio here and hope to draw some consonants. All right, I do get a couple consonants. It's no longer a vowel-heavy rack, but I do have the dreaded WU combination. But the W is not a bad tile, as I noted just a little while ago. That's going to fit very well right here or here for a reasonable scoring point, or a reasonable score, rather. Now, I could play the W and the U right here for 32 points. That would be a really great way to use W and U. So hopefully my opponent doesn't block me this time. Now, if that is blocked, what could I do down here with the W? I'd like to get rid of a T if I can. I could do what for 24 points, not a great score. What else could I use the W for? The W also fits here or here. Here I could also do what for 23 points. Now, is there a way I can use the U along with the W? Wood does that, but I didn't see plays in other spots that also do that. All right, great. Wood is not blocked, and I'm going to do that one immediately. All right, 32 points. Very nice. All right, now it's still the duplicated T, which Wood was not going to fix. I picked up a V, which is not a good tile for parallel play type situations. I have a 3-point lead, but my opponent is on turn. I could play move right here for 30 points. That's a nice score. Unfortunately, no vowels remaining with that leave. So it'd be nicer to... Now, I could play... Now takes a back T. I could play volt. That's only 18 points, but it's fairly defensive. My opponent wouldn't get a play to the triple, and it had a better leave. Now, a V can go here. I could play Lev for 27 points, or levo for 31 points, but then that leaves no vowels. What else can I do here? That's a pretty juicy spot. Okay, if I want to place a vowel, it can only be the E, but a T could also go there. Volt, but then I need to place an M or a T or a V here. And I don't see how to do that if I place a T here. So E has to go here. All right, so Lev is a good score, 27 points. I'm still keeping that duplicated T, but there's only one more T in the bag, so I'm unlikely to triplicate that, so that's a consideration. Okay, so I could take Lev with MOTT for 27 or Volt for only 18 points, but a better MET leave. But then my opponent is likely to use this spot. This is right now the juiciest spot on the board for scoring. I like scoring. There's plenty of E's remaining, so I mustn't be too upset about using my E. There's 8 E's remaining, so this seems okay. 27 points. I'll be in the lead. MOTT, not a great leave, but this seems okay. Let's try this. All right. Now, of course, I still have the duplicated T. I picked yet another V. I'm doing a good job picking up these high point consonants. So, what can I do now with this V? Kintar for 35 points. A nice score by my opponent. About a 20-point lead. Now I still have the T hook here. I could play something like that for only 13 points, but a good leave. This is somewhat defensive. Now I have an S here for pluralizing endocarp. If I could really clean this up quickly, maybe I could get a bingo on this lane here. Now, can I use the V here in this triple lane? Not without using the S. I could play tabs for 21, leaving myself with Mott again. I don't like that leave. It was okay for what I had last time, but I'd like to do better this time. What else can I do with the V? These V's are really hindering my flexibility. I would like to use the V. Well, I'm looking at that. It's only 13 points. That'll leave my opponent in the lead and on turn. But most seems like a pretty good leave. The S and the T have good synergy. There's still plenty of E's remaining. Trying to look where else the V can play. I don't see many possibilities for the V, and I would like to get rid of it right now, and I don't want to play tabs. I could play var, but that leaves me with duplicated T still. I'd like to break up the duplicated T, so I'm going to play that. Okay, this looks pretty good. Is this a bingo? If I had an E to play through, I'd have out modes. I don't have an E. Is it a 7-letter bingo? Just imagining each letter is the beginning of a possible 7-letter word. I'm not seeing a 7-letter bingo. I don't believe this is a 7-letter bingo. Now, I must look at the few floaters that are on the board. There's a V. I don't think there's anything from the V. How about this A? I don't believe so. How about this R? We also got the R. Not seeing a bingo through that either. Now, what's limiting my rack here? The U and the M. I would like to get rid of... Well, the M is not too bad, but the U is not so great. but it goes without. So if I could score well with the M, I wouldn't mind keeping the out prefix. Or sometimes it's a suffix as well. Let's see, what can I do here? Okay, hi. That blocks that S spot, but it only scores 12 points, so I'm only 20 points behind. Now, the S is not quite as valuable as it was a second ago because there's no hook spots for the S. So let's concentrate on scoring. This is not a particularly open board right now. Now I could do something like amount. I don't have an N. All right, so could I play something from the V or the A? How about through the T? All right. I gotta try and find some scoring spots on this board. Where are the scoring spots? There are not a lot of scoring spots on this board. EH does not take any back hooks. AL, what does that take in the front? That takes a D. I could play something like mod for 21 points. On this board, that's a pretty good score. Suet is not a bad leave. It'd be nice to use the U, but I don't see how I can do that right now. I like mod a lot. This seems like an okay play. Suet is an okay leave. Here we go. All right, I draw another S, which is not necessarily a great thing, but that gives me the flexibility to use an S and still have an S on my rack. Now, is there a bingo anywhere? I don't see anything through the V. I don't see anything from the A. Fair. All right. That's a valid word. All right. This is actually not a great rack in that it doesn't have any scoring tiles. I would like to get rid of the U. I'm pretty close in score. Now F takes a back E or A. How can I use the U? I would like to use the U. I could play Taus. I wonder if my opponent has the blank. If my opponent does not have the blank, then playing Tau leaves me with an S hook and there are no S's remaining in the bag. That could be dangerous. Now, if I play Taus, then my opponent could really... well, unless he gets a bingo, he would not utilize that S. Sight is a great leave. Not a lot of spots to play on this board. This might be really the only spot to play to. These bingo lanes are not really existent anymore. Well, I could play a U here. But how can I get a U there? What could I possibly play? I don't see... I don't see a play I can do other than just placing just the U. I could play us. That leaves me also with a great leave, but if there's no bingo lanes, what good does a great leave do me? You know, my opponent played pretty blocky. I wonder if my opponent really does have the blank. Might not. And this would be a great opportunity to open up an S hook. Is it worth the risk? I have 5 minutes remaining. I'm going to have to make a decision soon. I might go for the risk here. This is very low scoring, but Sights is a great leave with an S hook available. I think I'm going to risk it. Let's see what happens. All right. This looks like... Well, I draw another... Well, I had the S. I had both S's. Okay. So... Now, this is the word cystine, And I don't believe this has an anagram. So that is not going to play in this spot I just opened. And there are not really any other bingo lanes, so I don't see a way to play Sestin. Well, L-I, but then Oren is not a word. Lave would be a word. Now, I could make a play here for points. But at this point, my strategy is I've kind of gone all out for the bingo here. My opponent likely does not have the blank because, well, I don't know that. All right. I wonder if I have something through an A and an E. That would be a lot of vowels. Probably not. I'd almost have to have something ending in AS or IS to bingo in this lane. That's difficult. Inoki. Okay. And that gives me Sestin. So his attempt to block was unsuccessful. NE, and actually helped me now. I'm going to try and find the best spot for this here. Well, if I put the I here, that is not going to fit because that would be a T here. So I think I have to play it in this spot. All right, and that's 82 points, a great score. All right, and I draw the blank. Fantastic. So the luck was really in my favor here at the end of this game. Now, the game's not over yet. Oh, but because I have the Z, I could play something. I could play Z's for 75 points. That's as good as a bingo. All right, and my opponent is probably expecting that I have the blank now, may try to block this, although my opponent now is in the situation of needing a bingo. And look at the remaining tiles. A, B, C, E, G, I, L, O, Y. That is not a very bingo-friendly combination of letters. So it's going to be difficult for my opponent to figure out a way to get a bingo. All right. Well, if I have the chance, I'm going to play Z's pretty much immediately. Well, there we go. It really almost doesn't matter whether my opponent is going to get a bingo or not if I get Z's, because I'm going to be up by over 100 points. So even if my opponent bingos, and where would my opponent bingo? It would probably be in this lane here. That's not even going to get doubled. If he bingos here, that would be doubled, but is only going to score maybe in the 70-point range. And even if I have the Y on count back, I have enough to win the game. Z's is just far too many points to pass up. I'm going with this. And I do draw the Y. This does not look like a bingo to me. All right. So, assuming my opponent is not going to bingo, how can I best use my remaining tiles for maximum scoring effect? Well, I could play Bay right here. 22 points. It's pretty good. I could play Bay here for 25 points. Leaving myself with an I. Where can the I be played? It could be played here, also here, and here. So there's several spots the I can be played, so I'm not going to stick myself with an unplayable tile if I play Bay. Do I have an outplay with these 4 tiles? I don't think so. All right, I also have Bay here. That scores 29 points. All right. And before I make a play, my opponent is probably going to get another play. I'll just make sure I'm not giving my opponent a high-scoring counterplay. Now, and I would fit here. Can I do something for score here? I don't think so. Just looking for more scoring opportunities. All right, glasses, I believe that's a valid word. And my opponent has EI remaining. I'm sure that my opponent can play that. They could do Fey here. Or Phi, rather. That is only 12 points. My opponent is not going to score really highly with the I and the E. So I think I'm just going to worry about scoring the most points that I can. I think Bay is fine for 29 points. My opponent is not going to play off of this for a lot. Even if I block 5, my opponent could play Chi for 11 points. And I'm not going to score a lot with my eye. So I like this play. 29 points. And my opponent is probably going to play out. If not, I have Chi for 11 points. Okay. My opponent does play out. All right, and I misspelled insidious. All right, so the final score is 323 points for my opponent and 415 points for me, a winning margin of 92 points. Let's examine the game and see what I missed. All right. Okay. Codex, nice start for my opponent. I could play Hump or Hap. I chose Hump, even though it was somewhat non-defensive. I was rooting for my opponent not to get an S. My opponent did have an S and used that to high scoring effect. Now I have the blank, and I have Cropland. All right, so that's how I could have played from the sea. I did not consider Cropland. My play of Endocarp scores 24 points less. So that's a somewhat significant miss, although I am happy to at least have spotted a bingo. Finding a bingo is much better than not finding a bingo. Now, here's where Aerosol and Roseola were missed. Did I miss any other bingos? Roseola, that does take a back R. Now, I've studied all my hook 8s, so I should have remembered that that was good. So that's a significant miss to chicken out on that, and I seem to have been doing that a lot recently in these videos. I'll have to figure out a way to remember these words that I have studied a little bit better. Now, at this point, I have a lot of vowels, and here's a suggestion for 24 points, but leaves I-O-O-T. Not a great leave. I instead play agio, which is one of the top suggestions, leaving toe. I think I like that a little bit better. All right. Here I played wood. I was glad that that did not get blocked. And here I drew another V. I could have played levo for 31 points, but I didn't like that that used my final vowel. So lev is the second choice. I prefer that over the top computer choice. All right. Here, the computer is suggesting vat, which was my play. I'm really surprised. Usually when I do these low-scoring plays in these videos, I'm punished when I examine and I see some higher-scoring plays that the computer really favors. Now, vast was playable for 11 more points, but uses the S. I like keeping the S at this point in the game. All right. Here I could have played Mo for 18. I instead played Mod for 21. I like that a little bit better. I think Suet is fine. I like the 3 extra points in this case. Here I picked up a duplicated S. The computer is recommending AI for 18. I went with the somewhat risky play, risking that my opponent did not have the blank. Part of my reasoning in thinking my opponent might not have the blank is that he had just made a somewhat board blocking play, and usually a person that has been making board blocking plays does not have the blank. So this seems like an okay risk on my part, and I was awarded by my opponent trying to block that spot and actually giving me a spot for my bingo cestine. So that was quite lucky. Now, it's giving me 2 spots here. Okay, I also could have played it in row M, but there would be no sense in doing that when I could get the triple. And here I got the Z and Z's for 75. Seems like a good play. I also had some other scoring. Okay, I see. I could have also played zebras. That's worth considering. Zinebs. A lot of Z plays from here. Well, if I want to prevent a bingo, that might be actually a superior play. So I was a little bit, perhaps a little slightly hasty and just jumping right at the chance to do Z's, especially since my opponent is not going to be able to use this spot since there's no S remaining. This might have been a better play. But anyway, I got 75 points, which is fine and did guarantee the win. Okay, here Bay was my highest scoring play. I like that. And my opponent played his highest scoring play. So, quite an interesting game. I'm a little bit rueful that I did not play Roseolar, even though I did mention it in the video, and I just thought for some reason that was not valid. I seem to be doing that a little bit more frequently nowadays, so I might just perhaps read some more lists. Just read lists of words that I know rather than doing so much on scrambling. Might be an idea. Anyway, the interesting situation in this game here was making a risky play, betting that my opponent did not have the blank, and in this case, I was correct. Earlier in the game, I made a similarly risky play, and my opponent did have the S, and I was punished for it. So I got punished 1 time out of 2, but that was good enough for me to be able to win the game. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching that and the strategy involved in this game. Thank you for watching. My name is Brian Galebuck, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.